we'll go ahead and start. Open your books to where we left off the other day, which was pages 82 and 83. Harry and Hagrid are in Diagon Alley, and they're at Ollivander's wand shop. And Harry meets Mr. Ollivander, page 82. And back up just a little bit from where we were the other day. Yes, I thought I'd be seeing you soon, Harry Potter. You have your mother's eyes. It seems only yesterday she was in herself, buying her first wand. 10 1/4 inches long, swishy, made of willow. Nice wand for charm work. So notice we're told that there are particular characteristics of wands that are good for particular kinds of magic. And then he moves closer to Harry, and we're told his eyes are kind of creepy. Your father, on the other hand, favored a mahogany wand. 11 inches, pliable, excellent for transfiguration. Well, I say your father favored it. It's really the wand that chooses the wizard. Okay? Now he comes close enough to Harry, and he touches him on the forehead. I'm sorry to say I sold the wand that did it. 13 1/2 inches. Okay? So 13 1/2 inches. You. Powerful wand. Very powerful. And in the wrong hands, well, if I'd known what the wand was going out in the world to do. But what did he just say about James's wand? Says your father well, but the wand chooses the wizard. It's almost like saying it doesn't matter because the wand would have chosen Voldemort. And then he sees Hagrid, and they talk about Hagrid's wand a little bit. And so he goes on and he starts measuring Harry. And he measures and does all this kind of stuff, and he can't find the right wand. Bottom of 84. I wonder. Why not? Unusual combination. Holly and phoenix feather. 11 inches. Nice. Supple. Harry takes the wand. He feels the warmth. The red and gold sparks shoot out. Why red and gold? Gryffindor. What else? Anything else? Any other reasons? Pardon? Okay. Any color symbolism other than Gryffindor? What's gold symbolic of? Purity. Purity. It's the highest metal. Okay. What about red? Love, passion, death. Okay. And he says, curious. Well, I remember every wand I've sold, Mr. Potter, every single wand. It so happens that the phoenix whose tail feather is in your wand gave another feather, just one other. Very curious indeed. You should be destined for this wand when its brother gave you that scar. The wand chooses the wizard, remember. I think we must expect great things from you, Mr. Potter. After all, he who must not be named did great things. Terrible, yeah, but great. Notice greatness isn't a moral statement. Greatness just means powerful, okay? Harry's thinking, this guy's spooky. So what are we told? Harry, as we talked about the other day, well, let's start with Voldemort. Voldemort has a U in Phoenix feather wand. It's 13 1/2 inches. Harry has a Holly in Phoenix. That's 11 inches. I don't think the length necessarily means a lot, but these do. Because what does the phoenix symbolize? Rebirth. Resurrection. If you don't know the myth of the phoenix or the legend of the phoenix grows, it lives on its nest for 500 years, and at the end of 500 years, poof, it bursts into flame. And out of the ashes rises a new phoenix. And it lives for 500 years, and poof, just keeps doing this, okay? If you go to Trinity Church in Stratford, Stratford-upon-Avon, and you look at the high altar at the front of the church, at least when I was there in 2002, it had this. You look at the high altar, there on the high altar, and hanging down so that it's facing the congregation is an image of a phoenix. It's not an accident that they just happen to choose, this altar cloth that has a phoenix to set on an altar in a Christian. What is the central teaching of the Christian church? It's resurrection. Okay. That. Why? Well, what do we see in book 4? Voldemort comes back. Okay. Now, we've already talked about this. The yew tree is poisonous. In other words, it is death-giving. Okay? Holly. We started to talk a little bit the other day about the holly. What characterizes the holly tree or the holly bush? It's got 2 things. Okay? The leaves have spikes or thorns. Okay? So, of tree is it? Is it a coniferous or deciduous? It's evergreen. Okay? And it has red berries. All kinds of symbolism right there. It's evergreen. It's never dying. Okay? The red berries, if you're familiar with a Christmas carol called The Holly and the Ivy. It's an English Christmas carol. Okay? Is all of these 2 things as being symbolic of Christmas. Well, why the holly tree? 1, evergreen. 2, red berries. What are the red berries symbolic of? They're tied to this. Crown of thorns and the red berries that descend from the crown of thorns. Blood. Okay. So with Harry's wand, what do we already have? Christian symbolism. Okay. Yeah, like the Savior kind of thing. As he's going to be called later on. Patronus Potter. Okay. Or even as we saw earlier with McGonagall saying, I wouldn't be surprised if today is called Harry Potter Day, and that day is actually called All Saints Day. Or another phrase for it, All Hallows Day. Think there's a link between that and Harry Potter and the Deathly? Yeah. Okay. So, they go on back. Oh, one last thing. The yew tree isn't poisonous or death-giving to everything. Anybody see yew trees? Deer. Stags. Okay. There is no accidental naming in choosing of details like this in J.K. Rowling's little world. Okay, so we get the next chapter, and Harry's got to find a way to get to King's Cross Station. Just so happens the Dursleys are going up the day that he needs to go to get that little problem of a pigtail removed from Dudley. Okay, but he doesn't know how to get to platform 9 3/4 because when he tells Vernon, "I've got to get to platform 9 3/4," he just laughs at him. Because if you've ever been to King's Cross Station, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all the way up, I think, through 16. The problem is, when she made this be King's Cross, she actually had in mind not King's Cross. She had in mind the train station that you arrive in when you take a train from Manchester to London. It's not King's Cross. King's Cross trains take you up the northeast side of England. Manchester's on the northwest side of England. If I remember right, it's either Eustace or St. Pancras Station that she should have had. Okay? I think it is St. Pancras. And if you go to King's Cross, depending on what year you go to, if you want to go to the Harry Potter platform 9 3/4, they change it. Like every year. You know, one year it'll be out here, it'll be around the back, it'll be... And the problem is that you don't have platform 9 and platform 10 at King's Cross. You have 1 through 9, and then like 10 through 16 are around the back, which is why physically this wouldn't be possible at King's Cross. It is possible at St. Pancras. Okay? So they make their way. Harry runs into the Weasleys. Mrs. Weasley tells him how to get through. Okay? And they're like, "You're Harry Potter, really? You know, can we see that?" You know, Harry shows him the scar and stuff. And so he gets on the train, and he and Ron start to talk. And Harry asks, page 99, "Are all of your family wizards?" Ron, "Yeah, I think so. Well, maybe, except for a second cousin." And they keep talking. Is that a knock on the door? Yes. And what do we find out? We find out that Harry wishes he had 3 wizard brothers. And then they talk some more, and Harry finds out Ron's got 5 brothers and a sister. And we're told in that first introduction, Bill and Charlie have already left. Bill was head boy. Charlie was captain of Quidditch. Harry doesn't know what any of that means. Other than that, it means what? It's important somehow. Okay? Percy's a prefect. So when you have a title, it means you've attained some kind of rank. George and Fred George mess around a lot, but they still get really good marks. And everyone thinks they're really funny. What is Ron telling Harry? Any of you come from large families? I'm the youngest of 5. Okay? What he means is, I'm screwed. Because everybody has these expectations for me. Okay? Everybody has these expectations that I've got to meet up with. So he shows Harry his rat and stuff, and then Harry mentions Voldemort's name. And Ron about, what's his pants? And Harry says, page 100, "I'm not trying to be brave or anything. Say name. I just never knew you shouldn't. See what I mean? I've got loads to learn. I bet I'm the worst in the class." Harry thinks because he's totally ignorant of wizarding behavior that he'll be the worst. Dumbledore said, when he dropped Harry off, that he'll be better off being totally ignorant, essentially, of the wizarding world. Okay? So they start sharing their food. Harry buys a whole bunch of mess from the trolley. And he gets some chocolate frogs and cards, and he reads Albus Dumbledore's little bio there. We're going to skip a bunch. Ron tries to do some magic, and it doesn't work. And then Malfoy and the others come in, page 108. "Is it true? They're saying all down the train that Harry Potter's in this compartment. So it's you, is it? It's obviously not Malfoy. Why? I mean, it's obviously not Ron. Why? The red hair is a dead giveaway. Okay? Harry says yes. Oh, this is Crabbe and Goyle. As Harry looks at the 2 bookends on Malfoy's either side. My name's Malfoy, Draco Malfoy, and Ron snickers. Okay? Draco Malfoy. What's Draco mean? Dragon. That's a good name. That's manly, it's a tough name. Malfoy It's French. Means Malfoy, which means bad faith, bad belief, or wrong faith, wrong belief. Okay? Where is Malfoy's wrong belief? Where has he placed his faith wrong? And then we're going to meet Daddy a little bit later on. Okay? Just talk about what that name means. So Malfoy says, think my name's funny, do you? No need to ask who you are. My Weasleys have red hair, freckles, and more children than they can afford. You'll soon find out some wizarding families are much better than others, Potter. Okay? Some wizarding families are better than others. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you there. So what do we see Malfoy introduce? We actually saw him introduce it at Madame Malkin's robe shop. What mentality? His prejudice. Okay? His notion of superiority. Harry, I think I can tell who the wrong sort are for myself, thanks. Showing what on Harry's part? What does this tell us about Harry's character? Equality, okay.
A good judge of other characters?
Yeah, he's a good judge of characters. Ron's a good person. Malfoy? He's not. Potter, unless you're a bit politer, you'll go the same way as your parents. What? Get along with me or die. Now, I don't know about you, but in my parlance, we'd say, them's fighting. Okay? They didn't know what was good for them. Hang around with riffraff like the Weasleys and that, and it'll rub off on you. What's the it? Riffraff? No, it's not riffraff. Lower quality? Harry and Ron stand up. Ron, say, are you going to fight us? Harry, unless you get out now. Now, again, what is Harry showing us? What we've expected from what we've seen of Harry in the previous 108 pages, and what we know about Harry and his dealings with Dudley and his gang, would we have expected Harry to do this? No. Why not? He used to run away. He's used to getting beat up. So why is he taking a stand? Literally here. It's not just him. Who's he standing up for? Hagrid, Ron. Is he standing up for himself? Maybe a little bit. He's defending Hagrid and Ron. Hagrid's not there to defend himself. Ron is. Okay. What does Harry know of the Weasleys? What he's learned from Ron in, maybe an hour? And what did Mrs. Weasley do? She helped him. She helps him completely foreign. Not foreign as in from a foreign country. Foreign as completely other to her. She didn't have to. Okay? How would the Dursleys have treated somebody like Harry? And I don't mean a wizard. I mean somebody who just didn't know where they were going and how to get from point A to point B. They wouldn't have. They would have said, quit bothering me, go away. Okay? But we don't feel like leaving, do we, boys? And Scabbers jumps off, and, Hermione comes in and is all Hermione-ish. They see Hagrid, and they go on to the Sorting Hat. Okay? So we saw our first example of Harry acting how? Showing courage, which can be synonymous with courage, bravery, defending someone who wasn't there to defend himself, or defending the defenseless, which is kind of chivalry. What have you just done? I'm a Gryffindor. shown us, just in his actions, why he belongs in Gryffindor. Okay? Since we're going to get to the houses real quickly, we have Gryffindor, we have Slytherin, we have Ravenclaw, and we have Hufflepuff. Why do I put Hufflepuff at the bottom? Because nobody cares about Hufflepuff. Nobody wants to be in Hufflepuff.
I feel bad. Like, honestly, like, one of the, like, well, I think of him as, like, one of the main heroes of the story comes from Hufflepuff. Well, a couple come from Hufflepuff. Is that right?
Just wait till we get later on in the story. Because guess what you're going to find out? Gryffindor's not the best house. Hufflepuff is the best house, according to J.K. Rowling. Hufflepuff has an attitude that none of them have. And it is an attitude that J.K. Rowling wants her readers to adopt. Okay, which we'll talk about as we get to it. But just look at the names for a moment. Now, I'm not saying all of them have symbolic meaning, but at least one of them does. Okay? This one, Griffin d'Or. What's a griffin? What's it a mixture of? Okay. Well, cat's tail.
And
Lion's tail.
sorry.
It's a lion and an eagle. E-A-G-L-E. Okay. What's the d'Or stand for? Anybody know? Gold. De is de, out of. French, or. Okay. It is a griffin of gold. But then you have to start talking about, okay, why a griffin? Why a lion and eagle? What is the lion? Go ahead.
The lion is a symbol of royalty, and the griffins also, their mythological purpose is that you can't tell a lie around them.
Okay. True. If you couldn't hear that, lion is a symbol of royalty, and griffins in mythology, you can't tell a lie when you are around them. Okay. What else though?
Bravery.
Bravery. What's lion king of?
Everything.
The beasts. Okay. Leo the lion, king of the beasts. Eagles are king of the air. So what do we have? We have a mixture of, half and half, of earth, lions, okay, eagles. So the griffin symbolically represents the marriage, if you want, or the mixing together of something tied down here and something up with something up there, and it's of gold. Okay. In the Middle Ages, the griffin was often used as a symbol, you're going to hate me for this, of Christ. How so? Well, earth, man, air, God. The God-man. Okay? God incarnate. A mixture. The two. Okay? Gold. Pure. The highest form. You can't go any higher. If you're going to transform metal from one kind of metal to another metal, you don't go any higher than gold. Even though today we probably say platinum because it's worth more than gold. Okay? But you know, it'd be kind of hard. Griffin, it just doesn't sound quite the same, right? Slytherin, damn it, it's just got slither. Okay, snake. Even though some of us like snakes. Ravenclaw is exactly what it sounds like. Hufflepuff. What the hell's a Hufflepuff? I'm old enough to remember a really bad TV show called H&R, something like puffin stuff or stuff. Puffing up your, Okay. What are the symbols? Okay, the Gryffindor, the snake, Raven, Badger. I love badgers. All right, so we get the sorting hat. And Ron's been told, you have to do some kind of magic stuff. So we get the sorting hat, and we hear the sorting hat's first song. We're going to hear the sorting hat sing, if I remember correctly, 2 more times. And the song's going to change quite a bit. Well, you may not think I'm pretty, but don't judge on what you see. I'll eat myself if you can find a smarter hat than me. You can keep your bowlers black, your top hat sleek and tall, for I'm the Hogwarts sorting hat, and I can cap them all, meaning sit on top. There's nothing hidden in your head the sorting hat can't see. So try me on, and I will tell you where you ought to be. You might belong in Gryffindor. So now we're going to get these qualifications for the 4 houses. Okay? You might belong in Gryffindor, where dwell the brave at heart. Their daring, nerve, and chivalry set Gryffindors apart. Okay? They're brave, they're daring, they have nerve, and chivalry. These 2 are kind of synonymous. But if you have nerve, what does it mean? Or if you're daring, what does it mean? You take chances. Okay? If you're chivalrous, you stick up for those who can't stick up for themselves. Okay? If you're brave, obviously, it means you're brave. So what else? You might belong in Hufflepuff, where they are what? Just, loyal. Those patient Hufflepuffs are true and unafraid of toil. So give me another word, single word, for unafraid of toil. How about diligent or industrious or hard workers, if you want. So notice there, nothing about courage, nothing about daring. Anything about chivalry? Yeah. Loyal, true, just. Okay. Or yet in wise old Ravenclaw, if you've a ready mind, that means if you learn easily, like you never have to study and you still get A's and everything. I hate you, by the way. Were those of wit and learning will always find their kind. Or perhaps in Slytherin, where they are cunning. What else? They use any means to achieve their ends. Any means. Big word to describe that is they are utilitarian. If we were to superimpose the Lord of the Rings into the Sorting Hat song, who would be here? Saruman. Sauron. Okay. Who would be here? Sam. Man, he would be the exemplar of this. No. Ravenclaw, Elrond. Gandalf. Gryffindor, Aragorn. Boromir. Little Boromir might, find himself here. Okay. So, put me on, don't be afraid, don't get in a flap, you're in the hands, though I have none, for I'm a thinking cap. People come in and, some of them, the hat has to sit on them for a while and think. Others, the hat barely even touches them, spits out their name, like Malfoy. Okay, it gets within 3 feet. Slytherin! Page 121. Well, here's a question. Page 120. How the you-know-what does Neville end up in Gryffindor? For the first 6 books. Book 7, Neville blooms. Okay? So, page 121. Harry puts on the hat, which drops over his eyes. Difficult. Very difficult. Plenty of courage, I see. Well, we saw that earlier, right? He was willing to take on Malfoy and the two goons. Not a bad mind either. Is that really a ringing endorsement? I mean, if this were UC Santa Cruz, where they don't give grades, they give written evaluations, would you really want to have as your written evaluation, not a bad mind? Is that as good as genius, stupendously bright, you know? There's talent. Oh my goodness, yes. A nice thirst to prove yourself. Now that's interesting. So where shall I put you? So what have we been told about Harry? He's courageous. Got an okay mind. In other words, he's not the brightest bulb in the box, but he's not the dimmest either. Okay? What else? Lots of talent. What is talent? Native, raw, natural ability. Okay? What must happen to talent, though? Yeah, it's got to be trained. It's got to be honed. Okay? What else? A nice thirst to prove yourself. Why does Harry have a thirst to prove himself? Okay. What did Ollivander say about him?
He's famous for stuff he doesn't remember.
Okay, he's famous for stuff he doesn't remember. Ollivander says, we must expect great things from you, Mr. Potter. He's 11 years old. Look at the weight that is on an 11-year-old's shoulders. You defeated the greatest dark wizard that ever lived. How did you do it, Harry Potter? Okay. Yeah, I cried. My mommy died. Okay. Harry, not Slytherin. Not Slytherin. Not Slytherin? Are you sure? You could be great, you know. It's all there. Slytherin will help you on the way to greatness. Why? Because they don't care how they do it. Okay. Notice, keep in mind, what kind of term is greatness? It's morally neutral. You could just as well say, George Washington was a great person. And so was Mao Zedong. George Washington was a great person, and so was Adolf Hitler. They both did great things. Maybe not morally great. Washington did great moral things. Hitler, not so much. Okay? Okay, well, if not Slytherin, then Gryffindor. Why? Because those two are like opposites. Okay? And so everybody at Gryffindor cheers because they have Harry Potter. And now Harry gets to eat till he's stuffed. And we find out about a variety of people. We meet Nearly Headless Nick, and he flips his head off. And we meet Seamus and Neville and all these others. And then then they sing the stupid Hogwarts school song. Thank God they don't sing that anymore in the rest of the books. And we go to let's see, do I want to talk about anything in here? Yeah, page 136, the Potions Master, just kind of quickly. Harry meets Snape for the first time. He saw Snape earlier at the feast. And what happened when he looked at him? His scar burned. And he gets a letter from Hagrid saying, come down to my hut later on. And then we meet Snape, 136. Oh, yes, Harry Potter, our new celebrity. And so what does Snape decide to do? Isolates him. How? He picks on him. Okay, he asks them a bunch of questions. He says, what, you didn't think to do, any homework before school? Did they have any homework before school began? Were they told to read any of their books before school began? He's 11 years old. Okay. And he says, before he asked Harry all these questions, page 137, talking about potions. As there is little foolish wand waving here, many of you will hardly believe this is magic. I don't expect you'll really understand the beauty of the softly simmering cauldron with its shimmering fumes, the delicate power of liquids that creep the human veins, bewitching the mind and snaring the senses. I can teach you how to bottle fame, brew glory, even stopper death, if you aren't as big a bunch of dunderheads as I usually have to teach. So what does this tell us about Professor Snape? Is his a student-centered learning environment? No. He's kind of like me. Students are a pain, but he teaches them. Just kidding. So he fires off questions to Harry. Harry doesn't know the answers, but who does? Because she knows the answers to everything. So Harry gets points already docked at the beginning of class. And then he goes off and he sees Hagrid, meets Fang, and he reads in the Daily Prophet about the Gringotts break-in. Well, Gringotts was broken in the same day we were there, Hagrid. Ooh, Hardy Boy's clue, Okay. So we get the Midnight Duel chapter. And on page 145, Malfoy takes Neville's Remember All and has to give it back. And so they go off to flying lessons. And what happens? Neville comes down. And Malfoy sees Neville's Remember All again. And Harry says, 48, give that here, Malfoy. And Malfoy says, I think I'll leave it at the tree. Harry, give it here. And Malfoy takes off. And Harry realizes, shoot, he can fly. Harry grabs his broom. Hermione, no! You'll get us all in trouble. He gets on his broom, he mounts up, and what do we find out? In a rush of fierce joy, he realized he'd found something he could do without being taught. Raw talent. This was easy. This was wonderful. He pulled his broomstick up a little and noticed what he knows. It's like getting in a car for the first time and knowing exactly what to do. Pulls a broomstick up, he takes off. Points it down, he goes down. Go to the left, go to the right. By instinct. And he says, give it here, Malfoy, or I'll knock you off that broom. Oh, yeah? And Harry scares Malfoy, and Malfoy throws it. What does Harry do? 50-foot dive, grabs it before it lands. And then McGonagall. Okay? And Harry's thinking, that's it. I have to go back and live with the Dursleys now. But instead, she wants to put him on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. She tells all Charlie Weasley couldn't have done it. Okay? Now, if Harry remembers, which he probably doesn't, he's really not that bright. What did Ron tell Harry about Charlie? Captain of the Quidditch team. Okay? Wood says he's even got a build for a sneaker. That is, he's small, he's slight. She says, I shall speak to Professor Dumbledore to see if we can't bend the first-year rule. Okay? Your father would have been proud. He was an excellent Quidditch player himself. Okay? Here for breaking a rule. Okay? Which is what Hermione thinks. Hermione thinks, oh, this is bad. Positive reinforcement. Shouldn't do this. Okay? But what's really important about that scene? What do we learn about Harry? He is talented, on a broom at least, and he can catch. What else? Louder?
He's a rule breaker.
He's a rule breaker. Does he break rules just because rules are fun to break? No.
Like help somebody out.
He does it to help somebody out. Well, how is this helping Neville out?
So he doesn't have to go look for his remember.
Okay, he's getting Neville's Remember All back. Can Neville defend himself? He's not even there again. So what's Harry showing? Chivalry. Right? Even in the possibility or in the face of what? Getting in trouble. He's placing his personal safety on the line to defend somebody who is defenseless and somebody who is unable to defend himself. Because pretty much books 1 through 5, Neville's pretty much unable to defend himself against anything. Okay? And because of that, he is rewarded. It's not because of breaking. It's because he shows that he is willing to step out of line to protect someone else. Okay? Let's see here. I'm going to skip a bunch. We get the thing with the midnight duel. And what do they discover? Fluffy. Big three-headed dog, also known as Cerberus, thank you, guardian of Hades. Okay. Cerberus, and keep in mind, what is Fluffy / Cerberus standing on? A trap door. Where's Hades? Down. Okay. Yeah, devil's snare, the whole 9 yards. So we get Halloween, and we're going to skip a bunch. We get Halloween. Harry gets a birthday, not a birthday present, Halloween present, I guess. The broom. Harry has his first lesson with wood. And they have class with Flitwick, page 171. And it illustrates just how you properly say Wingardium Leviosa, embarrassing Ron in the process. Let's see here. And at the top of the next page, 172, because Ron is embarrassed, and because he's angry, leaving the classroom, Ron says to Harry, it's no wonder no one can stand her. She's a nightmare, honestly. Harry says, I think she heard you. So, she must have noticed she's got no friends. Well, which leads us straight to the Halloween feast, the troll, and what no two friends save Hermione's bacon? Ron and Harry. Okay. And what does Ron do ultimately to really save them? Yeah. He remembers what Hermione taught him. Wingardium Leviosa, and his, the trolls thing goes up. So what does Hermione do? She lies to a teacher, like Hermione, who is very fastidious about rules. Okay? What else does this then do? You have the three musketeers. All for one and one for all. Well, except for when you get to book 4 and book 7, when all for one and one for all doesn't really include Ron, because he dumps them twice. Okay? So we have the first Quidditch. I'm going to skip a bunch because I'm not really concerned about it. And Harry wins. And they're trying to figure some stuff out about Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel. And they talk to Hagrid. And Christmas comes. And Harry gets Christmas gifts. Seemingly, Dursley send them
50 pence.
50 pence and a hanger, don't they? Yeah, it might have been a previous one.
I thought it was socks.
Okay. And so what do the Weasleys give him? Mrs. Weasley knits him a Weasley sweater. And Hagrid gives him something. A flute. A handmade flute. Musical interest or ability? None. Okay? Hermione falls down and Ron goes, oh, it's an invisibility cloak. And Harry picks it up and he puts it on and he becomes invisible. Your father learned well. Okay? You should use it. And this is an heirloom. For Harry, this is an heirloom. This is something that... Does Harry have anything that belonged to him? Not at all.
His hair.
Yeah, his hair. Knobbly knees. Okay. And so what does Harry do? He goes out and he explores. He goes to the library. He's trying to find out more about Nicholas Flamel. And because he hears noises outside, Mrs. Norris and Filch and everything, he runs and he hides and he goes into an empty classroom. And on page 207, he sees this big giant mirror. And written across the top, carved around the top, are the words, Erised stra eru oit ube wozi. And Harry's like, it's in some foreign language. Well, what is that foreign language? Yeah, it's English written backwards. So what does it say?
I show you not your reflection, but your heart's desire.
I show you not your face, but your heart's desires. Or heart's desire, I should say. Okay? Your heart's desire. What does Harry see when he looks in the mirror? He sees his family. Okay? How does he see his family?
Standing behind.
Okay, they're standing behind him.
Like smiling at him.
They're smiling. His mother's crying. When he looks, his mother is crying. His father pats her on the shoulder. Why is she crying? What's Harry seeing? Okay, we're told he's seeing his heart's desire.
He wants her to miss her.
Is his heart's desire to see his mother crying? To see that his mother misses him? I don't think so.
I think it shows that she's alive and the fact that she can cry.
Okay. And Harry notices like his. Okay. Mom, Dad. He looks at other people. He sees the same eyes, the same hair in some. He turns around. He reaches behind him. He word, and he says, "Oh, come back." Okay. Who isn't in the image? Dursleys are. Who else? Who is, let me put it that way. Who are all the people that he sees behind him? Where are they? They're all dead. Okay? These are all family members he's never known. Who's not in there? What doesn't he see? He doesn't see himself surrounded by his family members. That is, he doesn't see himself giving his mother a hug, giving his father a hug. He doesn't see them messing up his hair, as fathers are wont to do to sons. Okay? He sees himself kind of in the reflection, but around and behind. So what is his heart's desire? It's not to be with his family, because that's not what he sees. Is it to just see his family? Okay. Just hold that thought. He sees his mother, she's smiling and waving, but then he notices she's crying, smiling, but crying at the same time. And he hears the noise, and he says, "I'll be back." And he goes and tells Ron, and they go back the next night. And Harry says, "Do you see your family all around you?" Ron, "No." How would that be wrong? I mean, he's surrounded by his family all the time. He wants to get away from his family. So what does Ron say? "No, I'm alone. I'm older. I'm head boy." Like, Harry can't believe that. "I'm wearing the badge like Bill, and I'm holding the house. I'm Quidditch captain." So he's head boy, he's Quidditch captain, he's grown. "Do you think this mirror shows the future?" Ron's going, "Please, God, please, God." How can it? All family are dead. Okay. Go back for a moment to 208. Harry looks in the mirror again. A woman standing right behind his reflection. Okay, now keep in mind what I said earlier, that Harry doesn't see himself with his family. Yes, he does. Does the mirror show your face, your reflection? I show not your face, but your heart's desire. When Ron looks in it, does Ron see himself as he is? No. He sees himself older, different. Harry looks in, he sees himself and his family all around him. So what's Harry's deepest desire? It's to be with his family. So how can Harry be with his family? He has to die. Dead. Ron asks, does this show the future? How can it? All my family are dead. Further proof that Harry's not the brightest bulb in the box? If they're all dead, what will Harry be at some point in the future? At some point, he will become unliving. And he will join them. Okay? Let me have another. You had it all last night. Oh, but you're only holding the Quidditch. What's interesting about that? What has Harry not done? He's not tried to experience it from, not Sam, Ron's perspective. Okay? Ron, who's always grown up in the shadow of his brothers, parents, wants to be different from them. Harry, who's always grown up without the shadow of his parents, wants to be united to them. Okay? Don't push! They hear a noise, quick, and they run. Next night, Ron says, don't, Harry. You shouldn't go look. Harry goes back, page 212. So, back again, Harry. He turns around, and there's Dumbledore, sitting on one of the desks. I didn't see you, sir. Strange how nearsighted being invisible. How nearsighted being invisible can make you. Well, how nearsighted does it make you? Nearsighted. It makes you see only yourself. To think nobody else can see you. So you discovered the delights of the Mirror of Erised. I didn't know that what it's called. But you know what it does? It shows me my family. And it showed your friend Ron himself. I don't need a cloak to become invisible. Whoa, no, that's some serious. What do you need to become invisible if you don't have a cloak? What charm do you need? Anybody know? Book 5. A disillusionment charm. Which we'll talk about what that word really means. So, can you think what the Mirror of Erised shows us all? What is Dumbledore doing? He's the headmaster. He's in charge. He's the head teacher. That's what headmaster means. Master comes from the Latin word magister. Okay? So what is he doing? He's teaching. Every moment for Dumbledore is a teaching moment. And so he's found Harry in this room with this giant mirror, and so he wants to teach him about it. Why? Because Dumbledore's the puppet master, and he's the one pulling the strings. And Harry, no, I don't know what it shows us. He shakes his head. Well, let me explain. The happiest man on earth would be able to use the Mirror of Erised like a normal mirror. That is, he would look into it and see himself exactly as he is. That is, he would look into it and see his face. Why? Because he has no other desires. In other words, he would be desireless. Or, to use a big word from Greek, he would have what's called apatheia. It does not mean apathetic. Apathetic means you don't give a damn. Okay? Apatheia, patheia here means feeling, desire. Want means no desire, no want, no feeling. It means to lack nothing. Okay? To lack nothing doesn't mean you have everything. It just means you're at perfect, total peace. Okay? No conflict. Does that help, Harry? No. It shows us what we want. Whatever we want. Does Harry look into it and see a fantastic car? Would Malfoy see the Nimbus 2000? No. It doesn't show whatever you want. Because there wouldn't be room, frankly. Yes and no. It shows us nothing more or less than the deepest, most desperate desire of our heart. Well, the happiest man on earth, or the perfectly satisfied man, the desireless man, what's the deepest desire of his heart? None. Because he's perfectly content. So what's he see? He just sees himself. The rest of us, however, we see that thing that lays inside. Or it might be something that we are aware of, but we don't necessarily talk about it. See, what does Ron want more than anything else? Is it to be head boy and Quidditch captain? No. What is it? Out to be somebody, not to be in the shadow of his brothers. What is it Harry wants more than anything else? Family. He wants to be connected to those who love him. Jump to book 7, into the Forbidden Forest. He gets it then, okay? You who have never known your family, see them standing around you. Notice, Dumbledore can see what Harry sees in it. Dumbledore can see what Ron sees into it. Can Harry see what Ron sees when Harry looks into it behind Ron? Nope. Can Ron see what? Nope.
Can he see that, or was he just there when Harry's like, hey, that's what?
Okay, yeah, it could be that, they said this is what they saw. But, he says, this mirror will give us neither knowledge nor truth. Knowledge or truth. It won't give us facts. It won't give us real information, nor will it show us truth. What is really ultimately true. And so what has happened? He says many in front of it, not knowing if what it shows is real or even possible. So he says, I'm going to move this to your new location, and if you should ever run into it again, now you'll know how it works, Harry. Remember this lesson, as he does his little Jedi mind trick. And so we get chapter 13, the Nicholas Flamel chapter. And they discover about the Sorcerer's Stone. Okay. Sorceress Stone, yeah. And we get the Norwegian, the Norbert Ridgeback, or Norbert, the Norwegian Ridgeback, whichever one you prefer. And they get caught by McGonagall up on the astronomy tower because Harry leaves the cloak behind. So they have detention with Hagrid, and they go off into the forest. Okay. Malfoy plays a joke on Neville, so Hagrid has to switch up the teams. And what happens? Harry and Malfoy and Fang go off into the dark part of the forest. And just before Hagrid separates them all, they run into a couple of centaurs, page 253. And they ask Bane and Ronan, have you seen anything? Mars is bright tonight. Hagrid's like, you stupid stargazers. Well, what do they mean, Mars is bright tonight? War's coming. Mars is the god of war. Okay? It's in the stars. So, Harry and Malfoy go out. And what happens? On page 255. They see something off in the clearing up ahead. And as they're walking, Harry says, look. And he puts his arm out. Why? To stop Malfoy. Okay, now what are they looking for? Something that kills unicorns. Okay? And we're told pretty much only really nasty things would kill a unicorn. Okay? Harry stops Malfoy. What kind of relationship do he and Malfoy have? None. A relationship of hatred. They can't stand each other. And what does Harry do to his enemy? He protects him. Does he stop and go, this would be a good way to get rid of Malfoy? No, I can't do that. He doesn't even think about it. All right? It's the unicorn, all right. It's dead. And then Harry sees, the thing come up from the unicorn. His head splits. And the centaur comes and rescues him. Page 257. Oh, you're the Potter boy. You'd better get back to the castle. Tells him my name's Firenze and everything. And then Bane comes in because Harry's sitting on Firenze's back. Okay. And Bane and Ronan leave after Firenze says, page 257, do you know why that unicorn was killed? He's asking Bane and Ronan. Have the planets not let you in on that secret? I set myself against what is lurking in this forest, Bane. Yes, with humans alongside if I must. In other words, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. My enemy is the thing lurking in this forest. If the humans are enemies of that, then they've become my friends. Okay? And so Ronan and Bane leave, and Harry's like, why is Bane so angry? Do you know what unicorn blood's used for? No. And so what does Firenze tell him? The blood of a unicorn will keep you alive, but how? What will your existence be? Cursed. You have slain something pure and defenseless to what? Save yourself. You will have but a half-life, a cursed life from the moment the blood... Well, golly gee, Mr. Centaur, who would be that desperate? I mean, if you're going to be cursed forever, death's better, isn't it? It is, unless all you need is something to keep you alive long enough to drink something else that will make you return to full strength and power. Something that will mean you can never die. Do you know what's hidden in the school now? How the blank do the centaurs know what's hidden in the school? Hagrid been out tipping, drinking a little bit again? The Sorcerer's Stone, the elixir of life. Okay, let's do a little more teaching. And can you think of no one who could use the elixir of life? Vol. And Hagrid runs in. Okay. Harry goes back up to his room. He says, I've got to go after the stone. Voldemort's going to get it. And what does he find on his bed? With a note. Just in case. Use it better this time. So they go through the trap door. They find out from Hagrid about how you get past Fluffy. Page 270. And Hermione says, when Harry says, I'm going through the door tonight, you can't. You'll be expelled. Harry, so what? If Snape gets hold of the stone, Voldemort's coming back. Haven't you heard what it was like when he was trying to take over? If you haven't, go to book 6. There won't be any Hogwarts to get expelled from. He'll flatten it or turn it into a school for the dark arts. Losing points doesn't matter anymore. Can't you see? In other words, stupid, silly little school points and school rules and gold stars don't mean anything. Why? This is real life for Harry. Do you think he'll leave you and your families alone if Gryffindor wins the House Cup? Okay. If I get caught before I get to the stone, I'll have to go back to the Dursleys and wait for Voldemort to find me there. It's only dying a bit later than I would have. Stop for a moment. Whoever said up to this point that Voldemort was after Harry? Nobody. It's never suggested to this point. So why does Harry think Voldemort's going to come after him at the Dursleys? To finish what job? That's the point. It's never made clear to this point. It's kind of more at the beginning, he's just going to wipe out the whole Potter family. I mean, he killed the parents, just take care of the son at the same time. But why, 11 years later, 10 years later, is it now necessary for Voldemort to come after Harry? This is a problem. She hasn't made it clear that Voldemort wants to get Harry. That's going to come in the next few pages. All right? I'm going through that trap door tonight. Nothing you two say is going to stop me. Voldemort killed my parents. Remember? Oh, I skipped the Star Wars part. Because I'm never going over to the dark side.
In all caps.
Other than Malfoy, who asked him to? Did Malfoy say, Harry, join me, and together as boyfriends, I don't know, get into your slash fiction, we'll rule the galaxy together? No! Whoever said Harry's going to go over to them? Did Snape ever go, Harry, come here. Come on. You know it's your destiny. Yep. You're right, Harry. Okay, so they decide to go on. And what happens? Neville tries to stop them. So they blow the flute, they go through the trap door. Devil's Snare takes Hermione a while to figure it out. I thought she was supposed to be Miss Genius. Harry's like, or Ron, one of the two, you're a witch! She's like, oh, we need fire. I can't make, I have my wand. Inferno, And then they have to get through the other, what do you call these things? Tests, hindrances, barriers. So we have Fluffy, Hagrid, Devil's Snare, Teacher? Sprout? What's next? Is it the keys? Flying keys, which is? And then? Are you sure?
Control.
Troll comes before. But they don't have to do anything with the troll because it's already dead or knocked out. Isn't the troll next?
No, it's the chest and then the troll.
Is it chess and then troll? Okay, so we go in. Yep. Chess. Gull. Troll. 2 R's, 2 L's? Can't remember. Quirrell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Potions. Snape. And what's the final one?
Mirror.
Mirror. Albus, I'm not going to put in his middle initials, Dumbledore. Notice there are 7 of them.
7 circles of hell.
Okay? 9 circles in hell.
9 circles.
But 7 is a perfect number. So, notice what they have to do each time. Each of them has a particular skill. Hermione's pretty good at herbology. Okay? Harry's a good flyer. Ron's an expert chess player. Even if Quirrell hadn't already, they could have taken care of the troll. Hermione's good at potions? No. What's Hermione good at?
Logic.
Logic. Okay. And in the mirror, which Harry has the cheat sheet. Because Dumbledore already taught him how it works. Okay? So they make their way all the way through, and notice what has to happen here.
Sacrifice.
And notice where it is in the 7. It's the middle. Okay? Ron has to sacrifice himself. So Harry gets through everything, and we get to the man with 2 faces. Quirrell. You? Me? But I thought Snape. Severus. Yes, Severus. He does seem the type, doesn't he? So used to have him swooping around like a bat. It's the first reference she makes to Snape being an overgrown bat. She does it through all 7 books. Snape escapes from Hogwarts in book 7. 7? 6. How does he escape? He jumps through a window and flies. Not on a broom. It looks like a bat. Repeatedly, she does this. When Snape takes over Lupin's class and has them write an essay on werewolves, later in the year, Lupin responds by having them write an essay on vampires. Okay? It's all a red herring. Snape is not a vampire. She gives you every indication that he ought to be. And she said in one of her interviews, it was all intentionally disinformation. It was done to lead you all astray. I think he really is bad. You know? So, Harry's there with Quirrell, and they're talking about Voldemort, 290, 291. And Quirrell says, he's with me wherever I go. He says, I met him when I traveled around the world then, full of ridiculous ideas about good and evil. Here's why he was foolish. He had ideas about good and evil. In other words, he believed in good and evil. Lord Voldemort showed me how wrong it is. There is no good and evil. There is only power in those too weak to seek it. And what do we see at the end of book 7? Who is weak enough, used Voldemort's terms, not to seek power anymore? Before Harry. Dumbledore. Dumbledore. As a young man, he sought power. And what happened as a result? Yeah. Okay. So, Voldemort is revealed on the back of Quirrell's head and everything. Harry fights him off, not like in the stupid film. Quirrell doesn't disappear into dust and stuff. He just dies. Okay? And Harry wakes up and he's in the hospital wing. Page 297. No, wait. 296. Is that it? Yeah. First things, the stone. Don't worry. Okay? And there's presents and stuff all around. Harry asks, how long have I been in here? 3 days. Why? Why not 4 days? Why not 1 day? Why not a week? Why 3 days? Okay? Keep in mind what happened to Harry. They start at this level. They go through the trapdoor, meaning they go down. Harry has a battle down here. And what happens down here when he battles Voldemort / Quirrell? Does he come out awake or conscious? No. He comes out unconscious. And he stays in the hospital. And he's in the hospital, the infirmary wing, for 3 days. Death and resurrection. It's a baptism kind of image. All right? And he wakes up. And notice, by the way, I didn't even talk about this. When he wakes up, something gold was glinting just above him. At first, we're not told what it is. He wakes up, and what's the first thing he sees? Gold. Like golden arches. Heaven. And then his eyes kind of focus, and it's Dumbledore. So they go on. Harry, the stone. Okay, you're not going to be distracted. He says, I arrived in time. I pulled Quirrell off of you. Harry, it was you? I feared I might be taken. Well, you almost were. I couldn't have kept him off the stone. Not the stone, boy. You! What's Dumbledore saying? Yeah, you're a lot more important than the stone. He says the stone's been destroyed. But your friend, Nicholas, you know about Nicholas. You did do the thing properly. What does that mean? You did do the thing properly. What's Dumbledore telling Harry? Good job. Why that emphatic did before the do? It's not just... He's telling Harry, I knew you would. That is, I knew you would go after the stone. And you did it right. How does he do it right? You did a little bit of research first, Harry. Well done. So he says, Nicholas and I have had a little chat, and it's all for the better. They're going to die. Harry thinks. Dumbledore. To one as young as you, I'm sure it seems incredible, but to Nicholas and Perenelle, it really is like going to bed after a very, very long day. What's the longest you've stayed awake? 36 hours? 48 hours? I lived in San Jose, California, which is Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and went to school at Covenant College on Lookout Mountain down outside Chattanooga. When I would drive back and forth like winter and summer, I would drive nonstop. That is, I would not stop to sleep, or I'd eat, but I wouldn't stop to sleep. And if I was going really fast and avoiding cops, before radar, all that kind of stuff, I'd make it 36 hours. If I was going a little bit slower, I'd make it 39 hours. But usually, whenever I arrived, I'd be so jacked up on caffeine and no-dose and stuff like that, I'd be a complete basket case. That's what he's talking about. Okay? Because how long does Nicholas Flamel live? He's 666, and she's 660. Okay? By the way, bad idea on J.K. Rowling's part to give Nicholas Flamel, just led the wackos. So Dumbledore says to Harry, to the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. What does that mean? To the mind that's well prepared. How do you organize things? What do you do? If you have a desk that's covered with a bunch of paper, how do you organize it? You start taking things and you put them into piles. It's one of the lessons you learn where? Kindergarten. Okay? Putting things in the proper piles. So how do you organize your mind? You get it ready. You prepare it for death. All right? Because if you do that, then death is what? It's an adventure. It's something to be looked forward to. Who else says that? Peter Pan. Death. Now that would be an adventure. Even though he's unwilling to grow up. Right? And then Dumbledore says one other thing, and we'll stop with this and we'll come back for like 5 minutes with the rest of the book. was really not such a wonderful thing. And he explains why. As much money in life as you could want? Okay, show of hands. Who wouldn't want as much money in life as you could want? I'll take it. Okay?
I'll figure that out.
Yeah, somebody has to do it, But then what does he say? The two things most human beings would choose above all: money and life. The trouble is, humans do have a knack of choosing precise things that are worst for them. Okay? So, if Dumbledore says that money and life are the two worst things humans can choose, because he did say humans have the knack of choosing the things worst for them. So if money and life are the things worst, what are the opposite? Poverty and death. Well, how is being poor and dying the best things? Think about it. Just think about it. And we'll pick that up on Thursday.